students, once again a very hearty welcome to the English world of Aradhya. Myself Rashmin sir, imparting knowledge of English to the students of 9 to 12 standard in English medium. Students, we are doing your fifth poem. The title of the poem is Legend of the Northland, written by Phoebe Carey. Students, in my previous video I had given you the background about what is legend, which areas were there in Northland, and also told you certain facts about St. Peter's life. Okay, so with those things in background, we will just go ahead. We had already started the poem. The poem talks about first about the Northland. How was the climate over there? How are the people? What is the only means of communing from going from one place to another? Okay, how were the children looking like in their furry clothes? So children were looking like the bear's cubs in their funny furry clothes. Now we will continue our poem, students. The story of the poem will begin now only. Okay, so I'll continue from where I stopped. Once when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below and walked about it preaching, just as he did, you know. So I already told you, after Jesus left this earth, he told all his disciples to spread the good news. And what was the good news? The good news means the message of Jesus. And the message of Jesus was love, compassion and forgiveness. So all the disciples was just spreading the same news. Okay. So it is said that Saint Peter was also doing the same thing. And while moving from one country to another, he came to this particular place. Preaching means updesh dena. Preaching means spreading the good news. Just as he did, so he was doing the same thing after Jesus left this earth. And then you see what happened. He came to the door of a cottage. Okay. So first house he saw in this land, particular land. I told you, students, in this snow-covered area, Northland is what normally snow-covered area. So in snow-covered area, very few people you find, because there they cannot grow anything. There they don't even have enough vegetables, nothing. So that's why very few people live over there. So Saint Peter found a cottage over there. So he came over there, and what happened? Yeah, in traveling around the earth, so he was also moving from one country to the other country. So in that traveling, during that traveling, he came to a cottage in the Northland, where a little woman was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. Now hearth is what? Hearth is the fireplace. So cakes are normally baked in fire, in this fireplace. So the woman was doing that work, and she was a little woman, but aged woman, you see. So Saint Peter noticed her baking the cakes, and being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done. The day was almost over. So it was night time now. Evening and night time both together, we can say. So it was almost night time, and Saint Peter had fasted the whole day. Fasting means, you know well, not to eat the food throughout the day. Then night they will just break the fast by eating something. Understood? So here you see Saint Peter had not eaten anything throughout the day. So by evening he felt a bit hungry. Okay, he was becoming very weak because he was also moving from place to place. First one is not eating, and another is doing his activities regularly. So that will make you more weak. If you are fasting and remaining at home only, then your energy is not used. But here Saint Peter kept on moving, preaching, but without having food. So by evening he was hungry. He was very much weak. Then you see, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. So he asked the lady, you have so many cakes, kindly give me at least one. Saint Peter asked her. Now when he asked, he thought that this lady would give him the best cake. And what happens, we will see in the next stanza. So she made a very little cake. So from here we come to know the nature of the lady. The lady was very greedy. She had so many cakes lying beside her. Then also she was not ready to give any of them. And what she did now? Now she made a special little cake for Saint Peter. But as it baking lay, yani as it lay baking, okay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. So when she looked at that cake which was being made now, she thought that this cake is also very large. This cake is also very big. How can I give him? Okay. So that shows her greedy nature. Therefore, she needed another. Needed means to make the dough. जो आटा होता है उसको गूंदते हैं, तो गूंदने के लिए जो वर्ड इस्तेमाल होता है उसको नीड बोलते हैं, KNEAD. So she made another dough, okay, and still a smaller one. Now this one was smaller than the earlier one, but it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. Okay, when she turned it, that time she found this was smaller than the first one. Then also she found that this is as much big as the first one. So that shows again her greedy nature. Okay, students. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough. Tiny scrap of dough means the dough means kneaded flour, यानी गुना हुआ आटा. उसमें से बहुत छोटा लिया. And what she did? And rolled it flat. Okay. So she just went on making like we make chapatis, no? She just made her very thin in a round shape. Okay. And baked it thin as a wafer. So as you must have seen the potato wafers, the banana wafers, how thin they are. So that much thin cake she made. Okay. So that shows that she doesn't want to give any of the things. She wants to give very little. But she couldn't part with that. Now this also she didn't want to give. Students. So we can see this lady is highly greedy. Not very greedy, highly greedy. Okay. She doesn't even want to give that much thin cake to Saint Peter. Okay. For she said, my cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself and are yet too large to give away. She accepts. Here from these lines we can make out that she accepts that when I eat my cakes they are very small, but when I have to give it to other people, that time it looks very big. Okay. So that's why I cannot part with them. So she put them on the shelf. After making those cakes, she put them on the shelf. She did not give it to Saint Peter. Then good Saint Peter grew angry. Now this would anger any person. It is not only Saint Peter, any person you take. Any beggar who is very hungry and you have lots of food, when he asks for it, you don't even give a single chapati, how badly he will feel, how angry he will feel. So Saint Peter also feels the same thing over here, students. He also felt very angry, for he was hungry and faint. He was already hungry. Whole day he had travelled. He had not taken his food and he was feeling very weak. Faint means weak, without taking food. Understood? And surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. So during such time, if anybody comes across you and just tries to irritate you, you will easily get angry. And this lady was one of them. Okay, when Saint Peter asked, if you go to student such areas, you see such areas, people will be helpful to others because they know they are very few. Because very few people are living in this snowy area. So they will be helpful to one another. But here this lady doesn't give even the thinnest cake to Saint Peter. So that was enough to provoke him. Provoke him means to make him angry. Okay. And he said, you are far too selfish to dwell in a human form. Understood? These are the words of Saint Peter. You are very selfish. So human beings should not be so selfish. If the time demands, if the situation demands, they must help the others out. But you are so selfish that you cannot remain in the human form. To have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. Okay, human beings only enjoy all these facilities. They have the food, they have shelter, they also have the fire to keep them warm. Animals, they don't have all these facilities. So that's why Saint Peter thought that in human form you are not suitable when you are enjoying all this facility, if you can't give a thinnest cake to any hungry person. Now you shall build as the birds do. Now here comes the curse of Saint Peter, कि you are not suitable in human form. So अभी तुम्हारा क्या होगा, अभी तुम्हें अपना घोंसला खुद बनाना पड़ेगा. You will build as the birds do. Birds are making their nests, so you will also have to make your nest. It means Saint Peter through this curse is transforming the lady into a bird. Understood? And shall get your scanty food. Now birds don't eat too much. Birds' food is only this much. They eat few grains only. Compared to them, animals' food is much more. Compared to them, human beings' food is much more. Human beings eat 3-4 times. Understood? So that's why it is said that birds have scanty food. Scanty means very little. Okay? So like the birds are eating very little food, you will also eat very little food. By boring and boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood. So boring here doesn't mean tedious. Boring also has another meaning. Boring means to make hole. So you will have to make hole in the wood. Then only you will get your food. So indirectly Saint Peter transformed her by his curse into a woodpecker. उसको woodpecker बना दिया. लक्कड़ खोद बोलते हैं ना वो, उसको लक्कड़ खोद बना के उसमें ये कर्स से बना दिया. So then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word. So now the lady was transformed into a bird. Now the bird could fly, so flying she went onto a chimney. Why chimney? Because it is a cold region, so she wants to make himself warm. That's why she went to a chimney. Okay. And out of the top flew a woodpecker. From top of the chimney, the woodpecker flew, for she was changed to a bird. Understood, students? So Saint Peter, through his curse, already changed the lady into a bird form. And the bird is what? Woodpecker. Okay. She had a scarlet cap on her head when she was a lady. She was wearing that cap. That cap is still there. But here, students, you see the woodpecker's head is also covered like that red color. So, and that was left the same. So that was the only left with her. But all the rest of her clothes were burned black as a coal in the flame. Remember, she was sitting on the chimney. So while she was sitting on the chimney, you see the smoke was coming out. She went over there to warm herself. But here what happened? All her clothes were burnt. Only the cap remained. And she became like a bird only. And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood. Every country schoolboy, it means village side if you go. Country normally in English literature is known as village side, rural area. So if you go to any schoolboy who is living in the countryside, that schoolboy will have definitely seen this bird. Where she lives in the trees till this very day. Till this very day means till today. You will find this woodpecker living over there. This lady in the form of woodpecker. Okay, boring and boring for food. Understood, students? So what she does whole day? She goes on boring. She has to work for her food. So students, this is what the message of this poem. If you don't share certain things, if you don't help out your neighbors or the needy people, then God will not be happy with you. Then God might also put you in this sort of condition. When you need something, that time nobody may be ready to give you anything. Understood? So students, with that we come to the end of this poem. Earlier when we started, it was looking very lengthy. But I told you it is describing a story, students. So that's why you could understand it well. Now below that poem you see one table is given, one box. In that box the meaning of ballad is given, which I already told you in the beginning of the poem. A ballad is a song narrating a story in short stanzas. Ballads are a part of folk culture or popular culture and are passed on orally from generation to the next. A Legend of the Northland is a ballad. So all those things I told you when I began this poem. So with that we come to the end of this poem, students. Next time when we meet, we will see the figures of speech, and also we will just discuss the question answers of this particular poem. So till that time, students, once again revise this poem, you read it for yourself, and for understanding whatever I have told you in this video, you can revise that. So till that time, stay fit, stay fine, have a good day, God bless you. Thank you.